Get ready to make smarter investment decisions this week with all the insider tips and updates on the stock market. Welcome to this week's exhilarating edition of our stock market update, where unpredictability meets strategy. This week, we'll dive headfirst into the whirlpool of the stock market's performance, unearthing the economic indicators that have been playing puppeteer with investor sentiments. We'll navigate through the maze of sector performances, highlighting the thrilling crests and daunting troughs, and spotlight the stock movements that made headlines. And wait, there's more. We've got a special segment where we'll unveil future events that every market enthusiast should bookmark. The action starts now, so fasten your seatbelts and let's plunge into this week's market roller coaster. And remember to stay on top of your investment game. Hit that subscribe button. The world of stocks awaits. Kicking things off with a look at the overall market performance. It's been quite a roller coaster ride this week, hasn't it? The S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, and Nasdaq have all been on quite the ride, demonstrating the uncertainty of our present climate. The S&P 500 managed a decent climb, while the Dow Jones held its ground, and the Nasdaq took a minor tumble. Major trends and happenings have steered this week's market journey. For example, geopolitical uncertainties have kept investors guessing, while upbeat corporate earnings reports have invigorated certain sectors. Moreover, the market has been reacting to the freshest news in the tech world, with brand new product launches, innovation sparking investor enthusiasm. These elements, among others, have acted as a catalyst in sculpting the week's market dynamics. That's a wrap on the roller coaster ride of the market performance for the week. Now, let's roller coast into the key economic indicators. These are the numbers that give us a snapshot of how the economy's doing. This week, several critical reports were published, providing some perspective on our economic state. The GDP growth demonstrated a minor uptick, an indication of a strong and resilient economy. This favorable news might have triggered an increase in investor confidence. However, the unemployment figures painted a contrasting picture. A marginal rise in the unemployment rate suggests potential instability in the job market, possibly leading some investors to with caution. Lastly, the inflation data for this week also came out. The figures indicated a modest rise in inflation. This rise isn't inherently negative, but it does hint that the cost of goods and services is escalating, potentially putting a squeeze on corporate earnings and affecting investor sentiment. Those were our key economic indicators for this week. Let's now shift our focus to the performance of various sectors. Let's chat about how different sectors have been doing this week. The tech sector has been showing some real grit amidst all the market turmoil, thanks to exciting advancements in the fields of AI and cloud computing. Healthcare had its fair share of hiccups initially, but managed to bounce back in style, all thanks to some promising developments in clinical trials. The energy sector, a slightly rougher time, struggling with the wavering oil prices and emerging environmental regulations, which made it this week's underdog. And that wraps up our discussion on sector performance. Now, brace yourself as we move on to some eye-popping stock movements that created quite a buzz this week. Now, for the juicy part, the notable stock movements for the week. Who's up, who's down, and who's making waves? Amazon, for instance, has been turning heads with a significant uptick, all thanks to better than expected earnings. But not everyone's having a good week. Toyota, unfortunately, took a hit, haunted by production slowdowns that are tied to supply chain disruptions. But it's not all gloom, as Pfizer found a silver lining, experiencing a boost after breaking the news about a breakthrough in their research. It's clear that earnings reports, product announcements, and industry news create ripples that can turn into waves for individual stocks. Those were the highlights of the stock movements this week. Now let's shift focus to the upcoming events that could rock the boat. And now let's take a peek at what's coming up on the horizon. Next week, the Federal Reserve is holding their monthly meetup, where potential news about interest rates, a consistent market influencer, could be announced. On the economic landscape, stay vigilant for the disclosure of the most recent GDP figures. In the realm of technology, Apple's earnings report is set to come out, an event that has the potential to stir the market. We will also be covering the earnings on this channel as well. These are also some more earnings this week. We will cover the big names. Lastly, the energy sector is on standby for updates from OPEC regarding oil production quotas. Those are the events that could shake things up in the coming days. Now let's tie it all together. We've delved into the major updates of the week, observed significant market trends, examined key economic indicators, and evaluated sector performance. We've spotlighted noteworthy upcoming events that warrant your attention. Remember, comprehending these factors can steer you through the constantly evolving investment scenario. That's all for this week's Stock Market Weekly Update. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, stay safe and happy investing. Thank you for tuning in to this week's market update. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates.